So the pandemic has lifted. What are we doing about it? Are we still in a rut? In fact, what has the pandemic taught us, if not for us to become mentally well and to be able to strive to become mentally strong? In this video, I'm going to share with you 7 surprisingly powerful strategies that mentally well people do. I'm pretty sure you've heard of something called goal setting, right? And most of the time, people lean into goal setting because they know it works, even though they may not be doing it very well. One of the strategies I've discovered is not about goal setting, but about identity setting. One of the interesting things is that we carry so many different identity roles. A father, a son, an employer, a sibling, a spouse. There are so many different kinds of role identities that you actually live into. But which one is more appropriate for your day-to-day living? Not too long ago, I was speaking to a coachee, and he was saying that he felt disempowered. So what I did was I asked him to identify with a person whom he felt was totally powerful and totally able to handle such a situation. So he thought Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And I said, okay, so just imagine yourself stepping into the role of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And imagine yourself as The Rock doing whatever it is that you're supposed to be doing. And all of a sudden his mind was blown. Now I've been doing this for almost 3 decades, and what I do know is that it becomes clear that whenever somebody is attempting to create a new identity, they are literally just play acting. So think about really good actors. When you're in the cinema, they can make you cry on demand. They can actually make you feel feelings based on scenarios that are absolutely made up. They are not real. So if you think about that, there's such a powerful effect that their acting has on the audience. Can you imagine what kind of effect it can have on you personally? Who do you want to be? What kinds of characteristics do you want to have? Imagine this kind of a person who's right there, and step into this person and act from the identity of such a person. The next thing I realized that mentally strong people actually do is they hit for physical challenges. For instance, they do 48 to 72 hour fasts, or they go for a marathon, or they go and do some kind of physically challenging activity. Now this is twofold. I believe that based on the neurological science that we currently have, whenever you're utilizing your body in order to strive towards a meaningful and challenging goal, it actually gives you a hit of dopamine that makes you feel more motivated, more alive than ever. Now, the more you do this, the more you go for certain challenges, the more you see the progress that's taking place, the more likely it is that you feel that you're not stagnant in the first place. You too are progressing, you too are moving forward. And that's one of the reasons why physical challenges become one of the most profound transformative experiences that almost anybody can have at their fingertips. Never done 30 push-ups before? Give it a shot. Let's see how far you can go. And just as you thought that you were about to come to your last one, decide to add another one more. What that typically does is it helps you to continuously see that cycle of progression so that your brain begins to implement it in other places in your life. The next thing that I've discovered is the usage of something called gratitude, but not just any gratitude, profound gratitude. Has there ever been a time where someone did something for you so touching that you began to tear? That's what I'm talking about. If you begin to think about how people have been kind to you, how you've been bestowed with many, many gifts, how people have made things easy for you, and how they have been supporting you and backing you up. This form of profound gratitude is not just powerful, it also helps you to remain humble and allows you to eliminate that ego of yours. One of the most powerful things I've personally experienced is one day when I just sat down and I came to a realization that in spite of all the challenges in my life, there are a huge amount of things that I hadn't given credit for. And instead of seeing a black patch of darkness, everything seemed to light up because the 99% of the things that are going right tend to be ignored by us anyway. So why not begin to hunt for all of these things and go into that presence of all the wonderful gifts that have been bestowed upon you. Now, of course, this is to take that feeling of gratitude and embody it inside of you. Get a sense of the feeling, draw in the feeling of that gratitude, and begin to spread it around your body so that when you open your eyes and wipe away those tears of gratitude, you can begin to recognize what it means for you to be a person that has his or her heart full. If you can imagine the impact of how being empty in your heart actually makes you feel, how do you think that is affecting the way you're doing things in business or in your relationships in life? Conversely, if you have a heart full, imagine what difference that could make whenever you're reaching out to people, having conversations with your spouse or your loved ones, and running a 7 or 8 figure business. Imagine how that can profoundly impact the nature of your relationships and the nature of your results in anything that you do. Another thing I've discovered that mentally strong people actually do is that they tap into resources. Now, I'm not talking about money or furniture or any kind of physical material resource. I'm really talking about emotional resources. You're literally limitless where it comes to resourceful states. For example, in the morning, I might wake up and I want to feel this sense of empowerment. I simply go back into history, identify moments where I was empowered, and bring it back into my body. Sometimes I want to feel creative, so I go back to situations where I felt creative, sit back, kick my legs up, and I start going into that state inside my body. All it takes is for you to effectively go back, amplify that feeling, and to be able to use it in the here and now. Now, resourceful states are best activated before you make any decision. Unfortunately, most people make decisions about something that they need to do, such as if you think of your taxes and then you feel really down as a result of that, you've already tapped into an unresourceful state. What that does to you is it actually causes you to break down, and it causes you to reduce your level of motivation and drive, and therefore you obviously won't want to head towards that goal of completing your taxes. Unfortunately, most people don't realize this. So what you have to do in order to tap into your resources and your powerful resource states is go inside, clear your mind, and begin to hunt for moments in your past where you performed admirably, you did well in something or other, and bring back that feeling in your body. And with that, you can create what we call an anchored state. If you'd like to find out a little bit more, just reach out to me in the link in the description box below, and I'll tell you a little bit more about how you can do this mental programming all on your own. The key is that instead of seeing what you need to do and feeling miserable, first start out with a positive state and then see the thing that you need to do. This way of creating a powerful state first before you actually think about what you have to do or make any decision is probably one of the most profound lessons that I've had for myself to grow from strength to strength. The next strategy might cook your noodle. I'm a little bit tickled by it because we talk about hunting as if it's just a sales strategy or it's just a survival mechanism. Well, if it is a survival mechanism, and if it is something that keeps us at the top of the achievement chain, then perhaps we need to do cognitive hunting. There are two things I typically hunt for. Number one, triggers. For example, has there ever been a time where you were shocked or you were rendered immobile, just like a deer in headlights whenever something happens? Perhaps someone gives you a piece of bad news and you just don't know what to do and you melt down there and then. If that's the case, that's a trigger. You want to be able to identify as many of such triggers, or even the minor triggers that cause you displeasure or irritation or frustration, and hunt them and list them down. Then you can systematically eradicate every single one of them, just like weeds in a garden. The second thing that I like you to hunt for is limiting beliefs. A lot of the time, you're attempting to do certain things, achieve certain goals, and arrive at a certain ideal vision for yourself. However, has it occurred to you that if you have lousy beliefs, you'll never get there? As Tony Robbins likes to mention, it sometimes is like a broken GPS. Even though you know where you want to go, the device that's supposed to plot your way from point A to point B is faulty and you'll never be able to get there anyway. So instead, figure out what your limiting beliefs are so that you can decide what belief would be useful for you to arrive at your ultimate goals instead. Sometimes in a moment, if you can train yourself to think this way, it becomes a very freeing and liberating experience. When in the morning I wake up, I know I have to do my workouts. But, just like anyone else, sometimes the voices inside my head get the better of me and I stop doing my workouts. Instead, what I can do is to ask myself, what's the belief that came up in that conversation? Perhaps it's something like, it's going to be really difficult, I don't feel like it, and I'm tired. That belief can be replaced with something such as, if I don't do it now, I am going to cause myself more damage in the future. So as a result, my brain is now in charge of the decision that I'm making simply because I have identified the limiting belief pattern and I've replaced it with something that will support me in the direction that I'm moving. Reperspecting is just a word that I made up. It combines three different words: relooking, perspective, and doing. So if you combine these together, it is a process of going back into the past to hunt for new perspectives of old stuck situations. For example, you may have been bullied as a child. As an adult, you might feel like you want to pass on this bullying behavior in an unconscious fashion. And only when you realize it, you discover, oh my goodness, I need to change this. So often, I ask people to get into resourceful states and revisit younger versions of themselves. When they are with their younger versions of themselves, I go through a re-nurturance process by enabling them to hold that space for the younger, hurt version of them. Whenever you have a perspective that's stuck, you tend not to think of going back to those experiences and shifting your perspective from that moment because you're thinking, oh, it's all in the past, I won't be able to do anything about it. But you've got to remember, you do not naturally update like Windows does. So what I'm doing is I'm functioning as the Windows OS settings, telling you that you've got to go back and install this patch so that your entire operating system will be able to function more smoothly and more effectively, and remove old programs or old ways of seeing things and enabling you to move forward in your life. So if you want to find an experience of going through reprospecting, contact me in the description box down below. The last strategy is self-hypnosis. Now I know some of you already know about self-hypnosis, but most people don't quite. And as a result, they don't tap into this powerful internal landscaping strategy. What are you doing? Literally building up the right pictures inside your mind, the right sounds and the right voices inside your head, and to deliberately generate feelings of positive well-being. In self-hypnosis, the most powerful thing is for you to see what you need to see clearly and effectively and rehearse those states so that you feel good for no good reason. After all, one of the most difficult things for us to do is to get out of bad states because we feel like we're trapped in there. However, the more you feel good states, the more likely your brain is being trained this way. Rather than trying to get out of bad states all the time, you're deliberately hypnotizing yourself into feeling good states. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be naive. What I'm saying is that when you are in the right kind of state, putting yourself into situations that are adverse or challenging to you will trigger a different kind of reaction rather than feeling that you want to just avoid it or run away from it. The key driver? The language that you're using inside of your mind. Now, this goes into understanding the linguistic patterns that make your own self-hypnosis powerful. And if you'd like to learn more about that, inquire with me in the link down below. So there you have it, 7 surprisingly powerful ways that people who are mentally strong actually practice. And I invite you to practice as many of them as you possibly can. Schedule it into your calendar. Do it on a day-to-day basis, from a moment-to-moment basis, so that you can feel good for no apparent reason. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it with all your friends. In the meanwhile, if you've got further questions, feel free to engage in a conversation with me down in the description box below. In the meanwhile, get strong, focus on your practice, and I will see you in the next video.